Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Wednesday. This is Seattle Now. Have you ever had a nightmare about taking a test? Yeah, a lot of us have. Well, for law school graduates in Washington, a different kind of nightmare came true last week when the bar exam was canceled at the last minute due to technical issues. Coming up, we'll talk with Seattle University's law school dean, who says the affected students should not have to take a makeup test. We'll learn more in a minute, but first, let's get you caught up. First batch of results from yesterday's primary election are in. Voters weighed in on a variety of national, state, and local races that will determine what shows up on ballots for the November midterm election. Reminder, Washington has a top two primary. That means the top two vote getters advance regardless of party. We'll start with the U.S. House. In Southwest Washington, District 3, a seat that many believe may shape control of Congress in the midterms. Initial results show Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, who currently holds the seat, has 38% of the vote. Republican John Braun also has 38% of the vote. They will likely advance to the midterm election. In District 9, Democrat Adam Smith captured 50% of votes in early returns, with Republican challenger Doug Basler with 23%. Shama Sawant and Melissa Chowdhury are trailing with 12 and 11% respectively. King County is electing a new assessor for the first time in more than a decade. Rob Foxcurran has a strong early lead with 43% of the vote, followed by Christopher Roberts with 20%. Dominique M. Scarambolo just behind with 19%, and Al Dams with 16%. In Seattle, voters showed strong support for Proposition 1, the library levy, with yes leading 70% of the vote in the first ballot drop. Outgoing councilmember Deborah Juarez leaves an open seat in District 5. In early returns, Nilu Jenks captured 49% of the vote, and Julie Kang has 36%. Both seem poised to advance to the general election. Vote totals will be released all week. We'll keep you updated here and at KUOW.org. Hundreds of law students in Washington state were all set to take the bar exam last week. At the Yakima Convention and Event Center, they sat in front of laptops in a ballroom and loaded up the testing software. When they clicked to start the test, something went wrong. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. After hours of stops and starts, the two-day exam was canceled by the Washington State Bar Association, leaving 645 law school graduates in the lurch. The state bar is offering a makeup test in September or to transfer to the exam being held next February. But instead of those options, law school deans at UW, Gonzaga, and Seattle University are asking the Washington State Supreme Court to grant diploma privilege, which means they could practice law without taking the exam. Anthony Verona is the dean and a professor at Seattle University's School of Law. He's here to make the case for diploma privilege. Anthony, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Trish, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, really appreciate it. So let's start with the Cliff Notes version. For non-lawyers among us, what is the bar exam?
The bar exam is a professional examination that comes after the typical candidate for licensure graduates from an ABA-accredited law school, and they sit for a 2-day exam. It's a rite of passage. It's a very important one that takes a tremendous amount of preparation. It's very stress-inducing exercise, and it is putatively to show that the candidate is ready to practice law and is competent to practice.
So it's a comprehensive look at law?
Yes, and it takes 2 days. It's normally closed book, and a candidate for licensure spends months preparing for it.
Okay, I cannot imagine what law school graduates were going through when this 2-day exam was canceled last week in Yakima. How big a deal is this? What have you heard?
It's a huge deal. Bar exam preparation is like what an athlete does to prepare for the Olympics. You pause the rest of your life and focus all of your efforts, a huge amount of your financial resources and energy for months practicing and preparing, stepping back from family obligations, pausing work, sacrificing sleep and self-care in order to ensure that you are at the best moment in your preparation the morning of the Olympics. And same here, right? These students have told me they have taken out loans, they have postponed surgeries, they have postponed weddings, they have pulled out of work, they have not been earning any income for all of this time. And so I cannot overstate how disastrous this was for them last week.
Yeah, emotionally, it must be incredible to have to re-rack, to think about doing that exam again. Have you heard from law school graduates about
Many.
this situation? What did they tell you?
Hundreds. That this was devastating, that some of them were vomiting from the stress last week, because not only was it was canceled after 6 hours of false starts, of delays, of having them told, okay, we're ready to go, connect, and then they couldn't connect and they couldn't start. And so it was fits and starts. And then at the end of the day, they were told, you know what, we're calling the whole thing off for today, come back tomorrow. And then at the end of that day, on Tuesday, I believe, they were told, you know what, we are not confident in the connectivity at the site, and so we are calling off the whole thing and postponing until September.
Oh my gosh, what a wreck. Okay, well, the Washington State Bar Association has apologized for the issue and said students could take a makeup exam this September or even next February. What do you think is wrong with that?
Let me just say that all of our colleagues at the Washington State Bar Association and the Washington Supreme Court are feeling terribly about what happened, and everyone is trying their best to do right by these students. And I have all faith in this process, that they will do that. Preliminarily last week, the Washington State Bar Association said that the solution will be postponing the exam until September or having these candidates for licensure defer until February. The problem with that approach is that these graduates prepared and deferred work and got out of family obligations and paid for travel and paid for hotels and, moved mountains in order to do what was necessary to prepare for the bar exam and be at the peak of their performance Tuesday morning. To have to do that for the next 5 weeks and to stay that prepared. This is mostly a memorization test. So in order to stay up and ready to pass the bar, they have to, once more, postpone weddings, postpone surgeries, postpone medical appointments, postpone sleep, postpone self-care, but do all of that and expend an enormous amount of resources and not earn money until early September. So I really hope that the Supreme Court this week or next week issues a set of remedies that will not be postponement.
You and other law school deans have come out and said, let's just give these students diploma privilege, meaning they shouldn't have to take the exam. Let's talk about how that would work and why you think that's a good solution.
Diploma privilege is not something new in Washington. In fact, at the height of COVID in 2020, the Washington Supreme Court issued diploma privilege as the means by which graduates of ABA-accredited law schools and certain other bar licensure candidates received their licenses. All it means is that by virtue of graduating from an ABA-accredited law school, by getting that diploma, you have the privilege of getting the license from the Washington Supreme Court. So what the 3 ABA-accredited law school deans and many other deans across the country have asked the Supreme Court in Washington to do is to issue licenses based on diploma privilege.
I could hear some listeners thinking, hey, man, this is an important test. I don't want an attorney that hasn't passed the bar exam. That seems reasonable.
It's a reasonable concern. It's a very valid concern. And what I would say is that we have to look at the fact that there are no perfect solutions here. The most imperfect solution, I would say, is postponing the exam until September, because that basically puts the burden of the catastrophe that happened last week on the shoulders of these already overburdened, already traumatized victims of the catastrophe. It shouldn't be up to them to solve what happened last week by just remaining in this state of suspended animation where they're holding back their lives in order to stay prepared through September. Instead, diploma privilege is indeed imperfect. What I will share as the co-chair of the Supreme Court's Bar Licensure Task Force, I will share with you that one of the things that we discussed was that we did not see a disproportionate increase in disciplinary action against the attorneys that were licensed in 2020 through diploma privilege. There are other things that the Supreme Court could do if they were to order diploma privilege this week or next week, hopefully. Maybe a diploma privilege plus, where they also come up with certain ethics and skills workshops to ensure that the public is protected. But graduation from an ABA accredited law school and having to go through the rigorous curriculum that we provide our students, by graduating these students, by giving them a diploma, we, as deans of the 3 Washington ABA accredited law schools, are certifying that these candidates are ready to practice. And for certain catastrophic circumstances, that is enough for the Supreme Court. And I really do think that this is one of those circumstances.
It's interesting you said you haven't noticed since the 2020 class didn't take the bar exam any increase necessarily in disciplinary actions. But I do wonder if this could be used to appeal a case or reject an attorney or say, I'm not getting competent counsel.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things that I've been saying. Diploma privilege is not a gift to these candidates for licensure. These candidates for licensure deserved the ability to prove what they had in terms of expertise last week on the bar exam. This is a rite of passage for lawyers, right? And so not getting the privilege of showing that you are competent through a bar exam is a disadvantage to these candidates. But again, it is the most equitable of the options available. Now, there is nothing to stop, and I would hope that the court will make clear that there is nothing to stop candidates that still want to sit for a deferred bar exam so that they get a score that they can then port to another state. One of the benefits of taking the bar exam is that you get what is known as a uniform bar examination score that is portable and you could take to other states and be able to practice in other states. One of the disadvantages to diploma privilege is that there's some uncertainty whether it is portable. If you get the license from the state Supreme Court through diploma privilege, can you practice in other states? The experience from 2020 is that you can, but you have to jump through hurdles put up by those destination states, and they run the gamut.
Like you said, not a gift.
Right.
Not necessarily
Exactly.
a gift. Right.
Exactly.
Maybe a reprieve, a temporary reprieve. Is there value in the bar exam? I mean, like you said, they are competent if they have graduated from one of our law schools here.
Yeah, Trish, I am of two minds. I think back to when I took the bar exam many, many years ago in 1992 in Massachusetts. There was no connectivity necessary because it was all by paper and pencil and pen. And halfway through, I kind of got upset. I felt that this was more of a hazing ritual than anything else, right? And one of the things that we hear from a lot of experienced lawyers is that, hey, I went through it. I survived. And so everyone coming behind me has to survive this ritual too. I do see value in a licensure examination, so let me make that clear. And I do celebrate the fact that we now have this next-gen bar exam. This new bar exam needs so much connectivity, needs so much Wi-Fi access because it tries to replicate the work of a typical lawyer. Still falling far short because I know of no competent lawyer that locks herself or himself in a room without consulting with colleagues and getting advice and coming up with answers solo. But it is better than the old bar exam, I think.
You're an attorney. You understand how people might disagree with this granting of diploma privilege. What's the best argument against issuing this kind of reprieve?
I suppose the best argument is that, hey, every time the bar is administered, there are people who fail the bar, right? In my experience as a legal educator, as a dean of a law school, it's not that they're not competent when they don't pass the bar. It was that they let the pressure of a 2-day exam get to them. It is that they were anxious. It is that they didn't focus enough. And so that all begs the question, all right, well, what is this traditional bar exam testing? Is it attorney competence when many, almost all of these graduates who fail the bar exam once and then pass it the second time, are we really testing attorney competence? Or are we really testing their ability to pass a 2-day very rigorous, very taxing and exhausting exam. And I would say that it's a mix of the two, and we have to keep working on it to make sure that we're focused on competency and not test taking.
Before I let you go, because I'm sure there are law students, law graduates right now who are trying to figure out what the next move for them is, do you think they'll be relieved if they don't have to take this test, or do you think that's just another level of anxiety?
I think most of them will be very relieved and will, if they get diploma privilege or some kind of diploma privilege plus, they will welcome that news. Some of them will still plan to sit for a future bar exam to get that score, to transport it to another state, to go through that rite of passage, but not having to do that in order to get the Washington bar license, which is one of the most sought after in the entire country, would be the right thing to do.
All right. Well, tough position for those graduates. Anthony Verona is a law professor and dean of the law school at Seattle University. Thanks so much for coming in.
Honored to join you, Trish. Thank you for covering this important story.
And we did reach out to the Washington State Bar Association for this story. In a statement, a spokesperson wrote, "With respect to diploma privilege, that is a decision for the Washington Supreme Court, not WSBA. We understand the court is receiving extensive feedback and will thoughtfully consider all issues and requests." Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. This show is only possible because of our generous listeners. We really appreciate it. And before we go, our question of the week. After their performance last year, hopes were high for the Mariners this season, but so far, fans have been pretty disappointed. Can the Mariners turn their season around? Share your answer in the KUOW app. Just open the menu and select Talk to Us. More at KUOW.org/question. Today's episode was produced by Andy Hurst. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, Vaughn Jones, Anna Marie Yanni, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.